Did you know that Easter, a holiday often associated with Christianity, has roots in the ancient worship of Ishtar, the Mesopotamian goddess of war, fertility, and sex? Ishtar, a key figure in ancient Mesopotamian culture, was honored with animal sacrifices, objects made of lapis lazuli, her sacred stone, and temple prostitution. Now here's a twist. Ishtar is pronounced Easter, and the egg and bunny symbols we associate with Easter today were originally fertility symbols of Ishtar's. So if Ishtar is an ancient deity, how did she end up connected to a Christian holiday? Let's unravel this mystery. Ishtar's influence was far-reaching in ancient times, with her worship spanning across many cultures and centuries. This ancient Mesopotamian goddess of war, fertility, and sex held a prominent place in the hearts and minds of her devotees. The worship of Ishtar was an elaborate affair, steeped in ritual and symbolism. Animal sacrifices were a common part of her worship, with devotees offering up creatures in hopes of gaining favor or appeasing the goddess. The bleating of goats and the cooing of doves echoed through the temples dedicated to her, their lives offered up in a bid to curry her favor. Objects made of lapis lazuli, Ishtar's sacred stone, were also integral to her worship. This deep blue stone was cherished for its beauty and its connection to the divine. It was believed to possess magical properties and was often used in rituals and ceremonies dedicated to the goddess. And then, there was the practice of temple prostitution, a controversial and misunderstood aspect of Ishtar's worship. This was not prostitution as we understand it today, but rather a sacred ritual, a form of worship intended to honor the goddess of fertility and sex. Ishtar's symbols, the egg and the bunny, were not chosen randomly. They were and still are widely recognized symbols of fertility and sex. These symbols, which originally represented fertility and sex, somehow found their way into the Christian celebration of Easter. But how? Let's dive deeper. The transformation from Ishtar's celebration to the Christian Easter was not an overnight process, but a gradual evolution over centuries. As ancient civilizations gave way to the burgeoning Christian faith, many of the old traditions and celebrations were not simply discarded, but rather transformed to fit within the new religious context. One of the most significant shifts in religious paradigm occurred under the reign of Constantine, the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. In his quest to unify his empire under this new faith, he initiated a process of Christianization that saw many pagan holidays rebranded with Christian narratives. One such celebration was the festival of Ishtar, the Mesopotamian goddess of war, fertility, and sex, whose name was pronounced Easter. But how did symbols like the egg and the bunny, so integral to our modern Easter traditions, come to be associated with this Christian holiday? Well, these symbols were not randomly chosen. In fact, they were directly borrowed from the worship of Ishtar. Eggs and bunnies were seen as potent symbols of fertility and rebirth in the ancient world, aligning perfectly with Ishtar's dominion over these aspects of life. As the festival of Ishtar was Christianized, these symbols were incorporated into the new Easter tradition. The egg, a symbol of new life and rebirth, came to represent the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The bunny, a creature known for its high reproductive rate, was used to symbolize the abundance of new life in spring. The process of transformation from Ishtar's celebration to the Christian Easter was not a simple or straightforward one. It was a gradual evolution, shaped by the complex interplay of religious, cultural, and political forces. Despite these changes, the ancient roots of Easter remain visible in the symbols and traditions that we still observe today. So, next time you're painting Easter eggs or watching kids on an Easter egg hunt, remember the ancient roots of these traditions in the worship of the goddess Ishtar. The journey from Ishtar to Easter is a fascinating example of how cultural and religious traditions can evolve and intertwine over time. Let's not forget that Ishtar, the ancient Mesopotamian goddess of war, fertility, and sex, left an indelible mark on history, featured prominently in the Epic of Gilgamesh and the grandeur of Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon. Her worship was an intricate tapestry of animal sacrifices, temple prostitution, and objects made of her sacred stone, lapis lazuli. The surprising connection between Ishtar and Easter lies not just in their similar pronunciation, but in the symbols that we still associate with Easter today. The egg and bunny, symbols of fertility and sex, can be traced back to the worship of Ishtar. When the Roman Emperor Constantine decided to Christianize the empire, these symbols were retained, transitioning from a celebration of fertility to representing Jesus' resurrection. And so, a holiday that began as a celebration of an ancient goddess of fertility and sex has evolved into a Christian celebration of resurrection, retaining symbols that remind us of its ancient origins.